number six is show respect for others' opinions and don't tell them they're wrong.
Ooh, that's good.
That's a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this is, and the reason why it's hard is for me, it's hard for me because sometimes this is done with a gesture or a look just as much as with words. Nobody wants to hear they're wrong. And sometimes people say things to me and I give them the look, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to say a word, but my look betrayed me. My look told them, you a fool. You're crazy. That ain't gonna work. I've already told them that, didn't say a word, right? And it's something I struggle with. I work on it often, but that's how I'm a very emotional person.
Yep.
And because of that, I try to temper that with logic as much as I can. But that's a very difficult thing to show respect for others' opinions and don't tell them I'm wrong, even if you know they're a fool. Okay.
So I got a question, Shamori. I got a question. Okay.
What?
I got a question. This might help. Okay. Some people might be thinking, well, Shamori, what happens if what they're saying is really detrimental to the peace of our society? Right. We live in a day and age where anybody can say anything on social media, very hateful, hurtful things. Right. So how do you deal with, let's just throw it out there. How do you deal with people? And I'm sure that you've experienced this. How do you deal with incredibly racist statements? How do you deal with statements that are against LGBTQ? How do you deal with things that are like these very touchy statements that people get a bad radicalized way of damning people, shaming people at their very core of their identity? How do you deal with that? Because in my opinion, you're more political than me, dude. I'm gonna burn the fucking house down, right? And so that's why I talk to you a lot before I burn the fucking house down, because I don't have the time, nor do I have the patience, because that's just kind of how I'm wired, right? But like, how do you deal with standing up for what is right and fighting for what is right, right? When you see, the whole George Floyd situation happen, when you see things that happen that are just sex slavery and crazy things that happen around the world, like, how do you deal with that when people say, no, that's okay, that's right?
So the short answer is I don't deal with it, because a person's opinion and their idea is just that, it's theirs. It's not mine. It's not my reality. So I can't allow what they have to say. Do you understand? For example, there was a time when I was living in the South and I went to a grocery store. I was in a Kroger, and I stood in line. Right now, I'm a Black guy from Chicago, and I had a little girl who couldn't have been more than 4 years old. And the little girl turned around and she looked at me, and she smiled and I smiled. And then I could see her like looking. And then I saw her have this inquisitive look on her face, and I kind of put one on my face, like, and the little girl looked me in the eyes and said, "Where's your tail?"
Wow.
And I couldn't understand. I was
Wow.
like, "What?" She's like, where my mom said that, N-words have tails. And then she went and tugged on her mother's coat. It was like, "Mommy, where's his tail? I don't see his tail." Now, there's a lot of different ways I could have handled that situation, right? That's a child. I'm gonna go off on a kid? No. She don't know no better. Her mom probably knew better. And that's why her mom was real silent and very uncomfortable as her daughter was asking her this question here in the middle of the store with this large Black man standing behind her, right? But I think the uncomfortableness that she felt in that moment probably nudged her in the direction of not saying no dumb stuff like that ever again, right? And what's understood doesn't have to be explained. So I was able to just let that go and let her learn that lesson.
Better than me, Shamori.
But to answer your question, right?
I'm gonna tell the kid you're wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm gonna fucking preach to the kid. You get me? Like, I'm gonna go Malcolm X on that situation, bro. I'm not Martin Luther King in that situation, bro.
So here's the thing, though. Understand, when you tell somebody they're wrong, you give them a blow to their pride, their self-respect, and their intelligence. even if they are wrong. Doesn't matter. They think they're right or they wouldn't be saying it, right?
Mm.
Their perception is that what I'm saying is true. So if I tell you it's not, I've attacked your self-respect, your intelligence, right? Your pride, all of that. And none of that won't make them agree with me. When someone attacks you, does that make you feel more in there to agree with something that they have to say? Or does it make you go, shields up, let's go? Right? So if I tell them they're wrong, all they're going to do is not agree with me, and it's going to make them want to strike back.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance and fear are funny.
Yeah,
they
man.
only hold power on you as long as you allow them to.
And that's why you're teaching in the class, bro, because you got a lot more wisdom than me. I'm not gonna lie. Guys, that takes a lot of maturity and wisdom to guys, I'm still a work in progress. I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm a fool, but I'm a loose cannon. When it comes to like things like that, I just, bro, I got a long way to go.
So here's an idea. Like, even if you think they're wrong, letting them know that you're open to the fact that you could be wrong.
Yeah, true.
Okay. And some of you probably heard me say this before. I say it all the time. It's automatic with me now because I put the reps in, right? I've been doing this stuff since I was a teen. So it's second nature to me now, but the good thing is you can learn it, right? And a lot of times you'll hear me say, you know what? I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if I am, I'd love to be corrected. So let's take a closer look at the facts. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now they're like, yeah, let's do that. I'm like, okay, great. Now we're going to go back and look at the facts. We're going to go back and look at some solid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And by going through this, this is what I love about debate. It's only going to do one or two things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're either going to strengthen your resolve or make you change the way you think.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
Maybe as much as I think they're wrong, they think I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one way for us to figure that out. We talk about it.
Mm-hmm. That's good, man.
So
really
so you have to be able to, not starting an argument with them and understand that I could be wrong. And here's the funny thing. When you take the time to humbly let somebody else know that, hey, I could be wrong, what you've subconsciously done is allowed them the space to be able to say, well, if he could be wrong, maybe I could be wrong too.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Or this is how I feel. This is how I, like.
Well, you can't argue feelings,
Yeah.
right? I tell people this all the time. So you can't argue feelings. If you're with your significant other at home and they don't take out the garbage, after dinner, like they say they're going to do all the time, and you say, I'm upset and I feel like I'm not heard because I asked you to do this and you decided after you told me you would do it not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And feelings are valid. There's no right or wrong feelings. That's how a person feels, right? And to answer your question, I see right here in the chat, Elwin, where it says, how do you talk to folks with whom there's no agreed upon set of facts?
Oh, that's good, man. Come on, Elwin. Come on, keep bringing these questions, man. I want to see what Shamori got to say.
The way you do that is you have a conversation. You say, okay, if there are no established facts, we can do a couple of things. One, if you truly are interested in having this conversation with them, then you can do it. If not, you can say the juice ain't worth the squeeze and keep it moving, right? But guess what? I got time today. So today, yeah, we're going to do it. And today you'll say, look, what you'll do is if there are no when we say there are no agreed upon facts, there are, we just have been thinking too small. So now let's spread that out. Like, for example, someone might say, well, Shamori, the earth is flat. And then I have to say,
Kyrie Irving.
I could say, no, it's not. And they can say, yes, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. So we could have that argument back and forth all day, right?
Yeah.
Well, have you walked off of the edge of the earth? No. Then how could you say it's flat? We could do this back and forth all day. Or we can look at things that we know to be true, because there are things we know, things we don't. There's knowns, there's unknowns, and there's unknown unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are the things that we do know? We do know that if you go to a certain height in the sky, at some point, your vision will no longer show things that are straight ahead of you, but they then start to curve. As a matter of fact, if you go higher, you'll see that. Now, if you want to get scientific about it, you can understand why that is happening. That is happening because what was going this way is now curved around the Earth and is going down, which is why when you look out into the distance in the sky, you don't see more land. But again, that's because you're bringing it out from a situation where it was close to you, right? So that's how you would handle something like that. Now, where was I? Yes, that's right. Okay.